nextvista.org, and take a look around. It's all free stuff, free to use, free to contribute to, even free to download from. If you're on an iPad, there's a little link, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little link where you click on that, and then whatever the video is, you'll be able to see it that way. But we get videos in from all over the world, and some beautifully creative pieces the kids and teachers have done. I hope that they'll be of value to you and your colleagues and your kiddos. So feel free. We'll start in about a minute or two. My name is Rushton Hurley. I have been a teacher or a principal for most of the last 22 years. And taught most recently in the Santa Clara district, Wilcox High School, and all through the 90s at Silver Creek on the east side, right? So, and by the way, I got a load of friends in Pleasanton. How many of you go to Pleasanton teachers in the room? Yeah! It was like came in a huge bus or something. It was awesome, right? So, in addition to the teaching that I do, I run a little program at the Kraus Center for Innovation called Merit, Making Education Relevant and Interactive Through Technology. Very nice little program, didn't name it. And it involves being together for an entire year, doing most of the stuff online, and we accept 50 people from around the world, about 40 of which would come from Northern California, into the program. It's a competitive application. And the highlight of the year is a couple of weeks in the summer where everybody comes together and learns all kinds of technology and designs projects for the coming year with each other and shares ideas and just generally has much more head spinning and that kind of stuff. So great fun. Feel free to give it a look on the page I'm about to show you. The final little bit about myself is that I run Next Vista for Learning. It is an online library of videos made by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from. Thank you very much. So the videos are all 5 minutes or less, all for a student audience. Nothing that would freak out a third grader, only copyright-friendly content, stuff like that. So it's screened content. But if you are curious about that at any point, let me know. I am happy to talk ad nauseum about that. All right, so my Twitter handle is @RushtonH. If you are tweeting about the summit, please use the hashtag GAFE Summit, which could be GAFE. I'm really not sure how to pronounce it, but just GAFE Summit, that's the hashtag. Twitter is a great professional development tool. And those of you who don't know that, like, wait, no, they just talk about what the dog just did. No, you follow people that give you interesting stuff. That's the important piece of that. But great tool. Before I really launch in, I do have to know, how many of you were in my last session? Good heavens, that many masochists stuck around here. All right, big deal. All right, so let's leap in. Here are two things that I want you to know about. Copy the first one. Don't worry about the second one for a minute. The first one, those of you who weren't here last time, that is my freebie page. I have got loads and loads and loads and loads of free resources identified on that page, and I update it all the time, right? I'm constantly learning. Somebody will write me and say, hey, look, there's this really cool thing here. I used it with my kids, it was great. And I'll add it to that page. So, if you'll get that page down, feel free to share it with your students, your colleagues, your mortal enemies, anybody you want. And totally fun. The second one, actually, let me tell you about the second one real quick. If all we do in this session is listen to me, we are only getting one set of possible, kind of inspirations, perhaps, on what can happen with our staff at our school. I believe that there are lots and lots of people in here who have great ideas about how to get a staff excited about different things, how to get them to work together, to put forth all kinds of great things in the community. I believe there's all kinds of possibilities, and that we should have a bunch of us sharing. Now, let me show you what this tool is. So I've got this written here, but I want to actually do it in front of you, right? NASCAR moment.
Sweet.
All right. So todaysmeeting.com is a tool for creating a chat. And you might say, well, that sounds like a great way to distract us. Yes, but it's also a great way to share ideas. So what you do is you go to this site, you say, well, what do you want to name it? I'm going to name it RH-GAFE. Oops, that didn't work. So RH-GAFE. There we go. So RH-GAFE. Actually, this is because I created this. Try that. Sorry, this is a distraction. RH-GAFE. Done. It is that reason. So what you do is you just say how long this particular chat room is going to be live. It can be 2 hours or a week or a year or whatever, and people can use it. Now, the reason comes back to this, if you've ever sat in a presentation and someone next to you was listening to what the person said and leaned over and said, hey, that would really work with our third graders if we did blah, 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 blah. And you think, wow, that was brilliant. You happen to be lucky enough to be sitting next to that person, right? But if you've been sitting on the other side of the room, you wouldn't get it. This is what this is about, right? Hi. Feel free to start tossing in hi to the that's totally fine. I want you, as ideas come up or questions come up, to toss them in so that people can share thoughts along the way. That might be particularly important if I get boring at any point. So, feel free to do that. All right. So, Beth, Todd, and Jody, thank you for kicking in. Now, that happens here. RH-GAFE. So, if you are trying to get connected to this little thing, that's the URL for doing it. todaysmeet.com/RH-GAFE. Now, while you might be writing it down, and when you go there, you'll have to join, put in your name, click join, and then you can type something in and say, and bam, everybody gets it. But while I do that, let me explain how this session is a little different from the last session. It's actually quite different, but different in terms of structure. A lot of the sessions here at the Google Apps Summit are designed to help people learn how to do stuff. It's how-to stuff, right? If you were in my last session, you figured out that I'm really big on a why, right? Why do we do this stuff? How do we think about this stuff? What can be what can be really magical for kids and teachers and things like that. This session includes some how-to, but is more about the why, right? And so I had like 12 suggestions for getting teachers to go Google in the last session. I'm really going to talk about 5 things in this one. And in each one, I'm also going to show you a little bit about how to do it. 6 if you count, showing how to set up today's meeting, since that's not Google for us. But at any rate, that's what we're doing with this session. I hope to leave enough time for questions because I'm thinking that a lot of you have a lot of strong needs to find ways to inspire colleagues. How many of you would say, that describes me? I've got colleagues that need some serious inspiration. Fair enough. I know at a certain level that's already paying attention to us, but here we are. All right. So here's my first little bit right here. Avoid isolation. I consider isolation to be the cancer of the educational system, right? Isolation is something that is so firmly ingrained in what we do, typically, and as counterproductive as it can be to helping us become better at what we do, right? We go into our classrooms at the beginning of the day, we work with kids all day, and we may not have a single intellectually stimulating conversation with a colleague the entire day, right? Now, who on earth thought that was a good idea? That makes no sense at all. We have to regularly be having conversations with our colleagues that inspire us to think, hey, I could do this, I could try this out. That needs to be the mode of our conversations with our colleagues. As I talked about last session, I talked about the staff room is a place where hope goes to perish, and that kind of stuff, right? And what we want is we want to create a dynamic for our staff where the things they talk about are ideas and possibilities, not, did you hear what he just said? Or something, kind of nasty. So, avoid isolation. And when I talk about isolation, I'm talking about it by bringing in the cool stuff. So how many of you use Google Forms? Woohoo! All right, that's like maybe half of you, right? How many of you who do use Google Forms use them a lot? How many of you are like, just 1 or 2? Okay, so we've down to those ones. I want to show you how to set up a really simple Google form that can do something about morale at your school. And once I'm done with it, if you stay in touch with me and you say, hey, give me a copy of that form, I'll do it. All right. So what I am creating could be something you use if you wish. Totally fine. So let's go to Google. And here are my docs, right? So I'm assuming that you kind of have some sense of what Google Docs is. Let me kind of bring up to speed anybody who's not, all right? Microsoft Office, Google Docs. Microsoft Office has a word processing program called Word. It has a spreadsheets program called
Excel.
And a presentation program called PowerPoint. Right? Google Docs has corresponding tools. Right? The word processing program is called Docs. The spreadsheets program is called spreadsheets. Presentations program is called presentations. A little generic, but all good, right? Now there are some big differences between the two. If you're looking for lots of bells and whistles, you definitely want to be over here on the Microsoft side, right? I mean, they got 20 years of building your bells and whistles on this stuff. On the other hand, if you're looking for the better price point, you're much better off on the Google side, right? It's free! All right, but that's not enough. It's not enough to make someone switch, not at all, right? Because if I have to choose between something that does what I want it to do, but costs money, and something that's free but doesn't do what I want it to do, I'm definitely over here. Absolutely. So what makes you move over here? Well, understand the basics of docs. So this is either because I'm kind of giving you that sense, or maybe because you already know, but you're trying to find a good way to describe it to others. Maybe this will be helpful. What's cool about Google Docs is A, you don't have to install anything on your computer, right? This is in the browser, which means that your files are in the cloud, right? That means that anytime you sit down to an internet-connected computer, you can get to your files. That's pretty cool. That's really cool, as a matter of fact. Because you're not having to do that thing of like, okay, all right, so like I created this thing, and this is pretty good. I'm going to take it with me to school on my USB drive. I put it in the computer over here, right? I add a few things to it. Suddenly, there's some fires that break out. Oh, this kid threw up. What do we do? Okay. Oh, wait, the kid's having a fight. All right. And then you get to the end of the day, and you're like exhausted. You're like, right? And you say, I'm going home. So you go home, forget the USB drive. Right? And at home you're like, oh man, I left it there. But I got some ideas I want to add. I'll add these together tomorrow. So you put some things in. You go to school the next day. You're like, all right, so I have these two files that I'm bringing together. That is like the worst possible scenario for trying to get a file together. But if you can always get to the most recently updated version of that file, you're in great shape. Right? So that's a really nice piece of that. A second piece of this is really cool. A second reason this is really cool. Well, actually, the first reason, it's free. Second reason is it's in the cloud. You don't have to install anything. Your files are right there. Third reason, and the big whopper, is they're collaborative, right? So if I create a Google Doc and I want to share it with my buddy Todd, right? I just punch it in Todd, in the sharing, and suddenly, boom, he's got access to that as well. So we're not having to do that really fun dance of, hey, could we meet, on Thursday between 2:45 and 2:48? Talk about that. No, right? Anytime either of us sit down at a computer to be able to go, okay, I want to add something to this, we can do it because we each have access to the file. If you're brand new to Docs, you're like, wait a minute, what if you're on it at the same time? Well, interestingly, if we're both on it at the same time, I could be writing a paragraph right here, Todd could be writing one down here, and it just magically appears in front of me. It's a little freaky, but it works. All right? Now, if you're trying to edit the same sentence at the same time, no good. But the rest of it works great. So with that as a quick, that's Docs. Forms is this really cool way, that's a little hard to see. I'm far out there on the left. Forms is a way to easily get information into a spreadsheet. And you say, well, why is that cool? Well, I'll show you. So create form. Create form. Here we go, untitled form. This is going to be called Cool Stuff at Our School. That's the name of the form. A survey. Think survey. Now, you might say, well, wait, where are we going with this? Whenever you're creating a survey that feeds into a Google Doc or a Google spreadsheet, you're really talking about 3 different web pages. When you're thinking about Google Forms, if you're new to Forms, think 3 different web pages. One, which allows you to edit up a form, to create the form. Another, which is the form anyone would see when they fill it out. And the third is the data in the spreadsheet. So think about forms that way. There's the edit form, there's the live form, and then there's the spreadsheet that has the data. Now, so you have to put your questions in. And let's say, let's share what's cool. That's cool. Right? This first one's going to be your name. Because that'll be useful later if you have a question. All right, make it required? Sure. Done. Now, whenever you start a form in Google Forms, it gives you 2 options, 2 samples, right? So don't leave the sample questions in. That's silly. You got to go in and you're going to change one. So when I hover over this, you see how it's yellow right there? When I hover over it, I get these options on the right. Delete, copy, and edit. So I click edit, and I just say, what's cool? What's cool? I'm going to change text to, I can change multiple choice, that would seem silly. I'm just going to say, give me a paragraph text, so write it out. It's required because that's why people came here. Boom. Now I've got this form. Now if we take a look at it, here, this will actually take you to the form itself. It looks like this. Here we go, we got a survey. Only problem is, it's kind of boring to look at, It's downright sterile. So I'm going to go back here, go back to the edit form. And it says theme, plain. I'll say, click on that, You get a bunch of ideas, but ooh, spicy. So I click there, right? And now this is what it looks like. And spices, donde están los spices? Yeah, sure. Anyway, so I click apply. And if I go to it now and look at it, it looks like, there we go, looks like that. Now, that was easy. One of the things I like about Google Tools, by and large, and about any tool that falls into this category is easy is good. I like things that I can learn in a few minutes. I like that a lot. Hey, we got this great tool for you. You're going to be able to, like, you do all kinds of wonderful things on these 2 days in the fall. It's going to take 6 weeks to train in the summer. I'm like, no, I want my summer, right? I need my batteries recharged. That's a part of the way it needs to be. So, if I can learn it really quickly, great. I have this particular philosophy about educational technology. It had better do one or both of two things for me, right? It had better help my kids learn better, save me time, or both, or don't bother me with it, right? How many of you like, amen? Amen. All right. Whoa. Preach your brother. Now, so creating these are really easy. Now you can go into much more detail about how to learn the different ways of sharing it out. But essentially, you end up with with a link that you can pass along to people. You can stick this in a web page. There's lots of different possibilities. And the data comes back to that spreadsheet. And if what you're doing is you're ending up, right, with a spreadsheet full of cool things that have happened at the school because people are kind of in a mode of sharing that. Maybe at the beginning of staff meetings, and you've got like devices sitting around, people can say, yeah, this happened. You can come up with this long list of really cool things that are happening. And you could actually talk about that a lot, which is good, because you've got to have something that occupies that space of conversation. Otherwise, the void will lead to a certain chaos. All right? So the first bit of advice I have for you is this. Gather cool pieces of information using a tool like forums. Now, if you want to learn, let's say that you don't know how to create a forum, right? And you want to learn, but no one's around to train you, okay? And you want to learn for free at the time of your choosing. There is a particular place to go. It is like the best place ever. Where is it? YouTube is right. Everybody who didn't have that answer ready, I just gave you one of the most valuable pieces of information you're going to get at the conference, right? The magic word is tutorial. Google Forms tutorial. Go to YouTube, look up Google Forms tutorial. How to make a Google form, right? That kind of thing. You will find videos where people are explaining this stuff. That's really cool. I was explaining this to a group of teachers in Oakland a couple of years ago. All right, they'd opened up YouTube that day at the school, so I could explain this stuff to them so that they can learn this stuff at home if they wanted. Go for it, right? And one of the guys, I got a story for you here. One of the guys there said, "Hey, do you think I can find a tutorial on School Loop?" Now, how many of you know what School Loop is? All right, those of you whose hands are not up, it's a student information management system. Right? Everybody has accounts. The students have accounts. The teachers have accounts. The administration has accounts. The parents have accounts. It's a way to communicate with each other, right? Hey, we're going to be going next week to this thing. Can I get the assignments ahead of time? Sure. Blah blah blah. The teachers are putting in grades and assignments so that the parents can see that as well. It's a good tool, right? Ain't perfect, but it's a good tool. Good tool. Now, so this guy had said, "Could I find a tutorial on using School Loop?" I said, "No problem. Listen to things. School Loop tutorial." Hey, I found one. All right, let's see what you think. I turn over, and I'm helping another teacher over here. All right, so we're working on this. I finish, I turn up, I look over, he's looking right at me. And I'm like, "Oh, how was that video?" He said, "You need to see this." I said, "Was it bad?" He said, "You need to see this." All right. So, walked around, walked to his keyboard, press play. I will now act out for you the video that I saw. All right. Prepare yourselves. So, it's like a 16 or 17-year-old kid. He's just kind of at his computer, and this is how it goes, right? So, play. All right, so like your parents, right? They want to see your grades, but they're too lazy to like log into Schooloop themselves, right? So what we're gonna do is they're telling you log into Schooloop and show me your grades. Well, here's a way to actually have your grades look different than they actually are. It doesn't change the grades in the system, but it changes the way they look. So here's how we do it. Let's see, here we go. Here we go in now. Here are my grades. I am failing chemistry. That's no good, but I'm not gonna change it to an A, because they'd never believe that, but I'm gonna change it like a B- or a C+, and I'm like, whoa. And how did we find this video? Schooloop tutorial. What a helpful young man. How nice. First thing I did after that training was call up my IT board. You guys know about this video? This is great, right? But how funny is that? That the kid, not only did the kid like went to the trouble of making it, but it just never occurred to him to say, I don't know, us teachers might see it. Crazy. But it seems every time I do a session on this stuff, people have got stories. You know, I was trying to fix my disposal in my kitchen, and I found a video on YouTube and it showed me how to do it. Or I was trying to change the carburetor in my 1977 Phoenix, you know, and people, how many of you have stories like that, right? Wow, check it out, all right? So YouTube is this amazing tool. It's an amazing tool, right? So whatever it is you want to learn, let's say you want to learn how to use forums. It is a great tool for it. You can find ways to do it. All right, let's keep going. And what I'm going to do real quick is, as a matter of fact, that's exactly where I was going. See what kind of questions we got.
Sorry.
No, absolutely okay. What's your question?
How do you sort out all the junk tutorials on YouTube from the ones that are really useful?
So you notice that there's a lot of crap on YouTube as well.
Yes.
You just kind of keep watching. Yeah, and especially on the front end. And once you find a good one, you pay attention to who did it. And you go and you see what other tutorials that person may have done. And you can even do things in YouTube, like write to that person and say, hey, I noticed that you don't have a tutorial on scripts in spreadsheets. Would you know anybody who does? You may get a note back to that. And you just kind of start figuring out who those people are and sharing that with others. And if you're on Twitter, you can always put out a thing that says, I'm looking for a great video on how to do scripts in spreadsheets. Anybody know one? And if you've got not only people following you who can answer it, but people who will retweet it so that other people are asking the same question, you'll get it.
Some channels are better than others too.
Yes, channels are a great way to find curated videos. So absolutely a good suggestion right there. It was in channels. So YouTube has a thing called channels where people say, okay, there's this, and this, and makes up these videos. Very cool. Other questions? So what do we got here in our own day? Forums is better for collecting data, like in Flubaroo. If you're like, what's Flubaroo? Flubaroo is a wonderful tool that a Googler, i.e., one who works at Google, designed, right? Because his mother is a teacher and wanted to have different ways to use Google Docs and spreadsheets for grading things. And so he designed this thing, Flubaroo, F-L-U-B-A-R-O-O, right? So flu, like influenza, B-A, like bad actor, and roo, like small kangaroo. So Flubaroo is a good tool, right? What are the SurveyMonkey features? Okay, great question. SurveyMonkey is a paid tool, assuming that you want so much data from them. And it does a really good job of bringing things together in interesting ways, telling you who has and hasn't responded to things like that. But one difference between SurveyMonkey and Google Forms is that in Forms, you can always export the spreadsheet into Excel, right? Because spreadsheets at this point only have so many tools for reporting your data. And if you're really familiar with how to do that in Excel, you can just export the data down in Excel and do it that way. They're getting actually much better in terms of being able to do it on spreadsheets as well. All right, and then let's see, we got one more question maybe here real quick.
You can't put images in forms, right?
Can't put images in forms. The workaround is to embed a form in a Google site and put the image in the site. Right. And I'll actually show something with sites pretty soon, so we'll keep going from there. Okay, next piece of advice. Here we go. Manage news. Now, some of you are like, well, that sounds like a nice way of saying manage information. Yeah, it does. Some of you are like, well, that sounds like this. Boom. All right. However, really what I'm talking about is when there is news about your school, when there is bad news, especially about your school, you want to know it first, right? Sometimes things go wrong because other people come to you with questions that you're not prepared to answer. Now, if you're an administrator, well, make sure you're awake for what I'm about to tell you. See, teachers, I think this is a good idea as well, but administrators, this is a necessity. So we do this using alerts. So let me explain to you what Google Alerts is. Google Alerts is a system where Google is constantly doing these searches. And if a term comes up that you are interested in, you'll get an email that says, oh, right, there's this new thing out. Maybe there was a blog post about you or an article in a local newspaper or something like that. So this is one way to make sure that you are not creating a negative staff morale situation by not being prepared to deal with news appropriately. Ain't hard to do. This is what, where the heck am I? There we go. So Google Alerts, you put in a search query, all right, so some term. Every administrator should have a query on their school's name. I would encourage that, right? If your school is Washington Elementary, sorry, that's going to be tough. But if on the other hand you have an unusually named school, it's going to be really easy.
You can give plus in the name of the city that you live in.
You can also add, other pieces of information that would be, that would allow you to narrow it down, such as the name of the city where you are. All right, great point. Now, it asks for a few pieces of information, such as, do you want everything, or do you want just news or blogs or discussions or what, right? How often do you want this stuff? As it happens, once a day, once a week, right? And then it gives you only the best results, all results. Couldn't really tell you about that. All right, and then finally, what do you want it set to? And then you create the alert, and you've got it. So I have got an alert, for example, on nextvista.org, which is my website's address. And anytime somebody prints it out, I get an email. And maybe it's somebody doing a blog post about it. And then that way I go and I take a look at the post, and it's usually something like, hey, found this great video on the site. And I can actually put something there on the post. Hey, thank you for posting this. Anybody who has more questions about it, happy to help. So I do that kind of thing. Additionally, I have something on my name. Now, that's useful because I have an unusual name. So typically when an alert comes up for Rushton Hurley, it's about me. Not that this happens all the time by any stretch. Right? And it's only rarely when a particular soccer team in the UK plays another soccer team, because one of the teams has a guy named Hurley and another one has a guy named Rushton, and I get information about a soccer game in Britain. Right? But for the most part, it's useful too. And you might have to play with it a bit to get it to do exactly what you want in terms of telling you the information you want. But it's really, really helpful to be getting that information as early as possible. Often staff morale issues come down to how we react. The more time you have to react to something, the better off you'll be. Make sense? All right. Quick check of our questions over here. How we doing? All right. Theoretical limited forms or stolen forms. Awesome. All right. Forms are so cool that I'm totally good with that. All right. So, next piece of advice. Now, I don't think it is a logical stretch to say that staff morale would be better if we can reduce stress. All right. How many of you are classroom teachers? All right. How many of you feel stress related to time on a regular basis? Almost all. Not everyone. All right, but almost all. Now, how many of you are administrators? How many of you feel stress related to time on a regular basis? All right. Yeah. Now, what I'm about to describe is something that's really useful to teachers. And so administrators, this may be something you want to share with your teachers, because some of your stress probably comes from stressed teachers, just saying. All right? Now, I'm not talking about, say, this. Okay, that was a picture I found and I had to use it. There you go. Next one, I'm going to talk about this. Okay? I'm talking about this page right here. Maybe you're familiar with it, right? There! Hey, have you seen this one before? Have you seen this page before? Right? Now, this page is really, really helpful to teachers. Those of you who were in my last session and you heard me say something about saving yourself tons of time, and that's why you stuck around with this session, we're here. All right? Let's say that I am actually, let's work with you guys. So somebody who's a classroom teacher, raise your hand and just tell me what you teach. So just somebody right now, raise your hand and tell me what you teach.
Chemistry.
All right. What'd you get?
Chemistry.
Chemistry. Okay, and what is one of the concepts you teach in the first 6 weeks of school?
Atomic structure.
Atomic structure. All right. So if I come over here and I say atomic structure, right, and I do a search, everybody knows what a Google search says. It finds web pages. Actually, it finds all kinds of things, but it's going to be highlighted by web pages. But let's say that's not what I want. What I want is to find a PowerPoint that's out there about atomic structure that I could use to introduce it. Why do I want to do that? Because the alternative is to create one from scratch, which means that I'm reinventing the wheel because there's already a bunch of PowerPoints out there about the atomic structure. Well, rather than reinventing the wheel, I'm going to show you this really, really cool trick. Guys, this may be the best thing I tell you all day. You ready? All right? So what I'm doing is I'm going up here. Everybody looking? D-screen from your own. Look up here. Here we go, right? You see the cog? When I click on the cog, the second option is advanced search. This is the first piece of it, right? So I've done a search. I get that cog. The second option is advanced search. I click on it. It helpfully carries atomic structure over into the next screen for me. I'm going to roll down here, scroll down. There's some really interesting things here, like, for example, reading level. If you didn't know that you could do a Google search and filter by reading level, now you do. All right, but down here, file type. Oh, but this is good. Here we go. All right, so I click on any format. It's got a bunch of different ones here, about 10 or so, 10, 12 different formats here. One of them is PowerPoint. So I'm going to click on that. Boom. Now I do advanced search. Boom. Turns out over 21,000 PowerPoints about atomic structure. So what do I do next? I start looking at the green. Worldofteaching.com. That looks pretty promising, right? ITeachBio.com. That's pretty cool as well. More ITeachBio, right? Blah, blah, blah. Here's one. wshs.wtbl.k12.me.us. What does k12.me.us mean?
Belongs to a school.
School in which state?
Maine.
Maine, exactly. All right.
MEs.
So this is something probably put together by a teacher.
ME's message.
Right. Learning to read the addresses, right, is very helpful. For example, what does .edu mean?
Education.
College.
Educational institution, mainly
University.
colleges and universities. Which colleges and universities?
EDU. State. Government.
Anywhere in the world. US.
Not accredited. Ooh, say it again.
US.
U.S. American colleges and universities, right? If what you want, for example, is something that comes from Cambridge, right? You would need Cambridge.ac.uk, an academic institution in the UK. How'd you learn this stuff? Well, you Google it, right? But that's interesting, right? So you're looking at something like I want British perspectives and American perspectives on some incident that happened during the War of Independence. Well, if you know how to limit your searches by site, by domain, you can do that, right? So here we go. I'm going to try this World of Teaching thing first, right? So S. Morris, 2006. A bit far back, but not exactly a geologic age. So I click on Quick View. What it does is it opens up that PowerPoint in Google Presentations. Atomic structure. That's kind of a fun way to start it. Right? Boom, there's this right here. History of the atom, blah, blah, blah. And I might look at this and go, this is pretty cool. This is all right. Cool. And I download it. And the next day, what's the first thing I do? Kids. I was getting ready to put some stuff together to teach you guys about atomic structure. And I found something at, what was it called? I teach, what was it called? World of Teaching, was that? Something like that. Whatever it was. Worldofteaching.com. And we have this particular PowerPoint. Let's give them a hand. Okay, now moving on. That's called citing your source. All right?
Yep.
Which you should do. You should do.
Yeah.
You should model that, right? Now, this may be something that's really useful to you in telling about the atomic structure, right? Or you may pull up this PowerPoint and it's awful. Awful PowerPoints happen. A lot, all right? Are awful PowerPoints useful to you as a teacher? Absolutely. Show them to your students. Guys, I'm about to show you a truly atrocious PowerPoint. I want you to tell me why it's bad. Get them in groups and have them talk about it. They often don't get a chance to talk about quality, right? But they need to. They need to. And if every teacher helps them see that, that's a big deal. Now, somebody might be sitting there going, that's all good for saving me time, but I frequently ask my students to create a PowerPoint about the atomic structure. Are you with me? If you've got a kid in the back with some smirk on his face that says something like 6-second assignment, something like that, now you know why, right? Because that kid can do exactly the same thing I just did, download it, change the name, and say, here's my work. And you're looking at it and you're like, you did this. And the kid's like, yes. And you're like, I haven't heard you use the word oleaginous before. Right? Just learned it, really. All right, so, but this is less about how to bust kids for plagiarism. And I want to come back to the assignment. Was the assignment a good assignment? Now, 10 years ago, maybe so. Even now, it may be. But let me suggest an alternative. All right? Kids, we've been doing atomic structure. What I'd like you to do is to go online and find 3 PowerPoints about atomic structure. I want you to download those 3 PowerPoints. I want you to be able, for each one, to tell me the strengths, the weaknesses, how we would validate the information that is presented to us, and how you do it differently if it were you. That's a different assignment, isn't it? And I would contend it's a better assignment. It's an assignment that gets kids dealing with this ocean of information they're swimming in all the time. Help them discover how to evaluate the quality of the information they find. Right? So my hope in talking about this piece right here, creating time, a little science fiction piece, is that it ends up doing 2 things. It ends up saving you time, which as a byproduct may reduce stress, which is good for both teachers and administrators at any given campus. And it helps you begin to think about ways to get kids thinking about information that might make for some really cool discussions in your classroom, no matter what level you teach. Because first graders can do a great job of figuring out what is good and not so good about any given PowerPoint. Or anything, I mean, I keep using PowerPoint, it could be other things. Right? You need a handout? Instead of looking for a PPT, a PowerPoint, look for a PDF, a portable document format. It's the same on a Mac and on a Linux machine and on a Windows machine. There's lots of stuff out there. Save yourselves time. Right? Okay. Next piece of advice. Share regularly. Share. Now, that sounds so nice, right? Share. All right? What do I mean by that? Well, I mean this. We have, whoa, sorry, distracted. All right, squirrel. We have, on a regular basis, have to find the cool things happening in our school and get it out there. We have to get it out there. Because often the great things that are happening in our schools, no one knows about. Well, that's silly. I want to tell you about an experience I had where I started teaching. By the way, that's local, Silver Creek. Yay, yay, right? Yay. Now, my second year of teaching, I was on a number of committees because that's what you do. You put young teachers on committees that are afraid to say no. All right? So I'm on this committee, and I'm on a committee with a buddy named Brian Irvine. Great guy. All right? And so I have to go to his classroom to get some information. So I'm on my prep. He teaches world history, so I go over to his classroom. Now, what you need to understand about Brian. Brian is not a desks teacher. Brian is a tables teacher. You walk into some classes, lots of desks, right? However they're arranged. You walk into other classes, tables. Brian's class, tables, 2 kids at each table, facilitates pair work, whatever, fine, right? And that's Brian. Brian's a tables teacher. So this particular day, I walk into his class, and all of the tables are turned on their sides, and the kids are sitting on the floor next to the tables, writing furiously. Hey, Brian, what's up? He says, oh, you see, it's World War I. They're writing letters home from the trenches. For me, I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's really, really cool. You know, and there were the kids, you know. Wow. Now, I would have never known about that if I hadn't been there for committee work, which is not to say that committees are great. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are loads of wonderful things that happen on our campuses that we never know about, we never find out about. But we should be sharing with each other because they're cool. And maybe I find out it's cool, and somebody comes into my classroom 5th period, and I say, you know, how many of you guys have Mr. Irvine for a teacher? A couple of hands goes in. Did you like that assignment with the letters writing home in the trenches? And they're like, oh, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, we did this and this. Reinforcing the stuff that happens in other classes, man, that's an awfully good way to get them to remember, right? And suddenly they're a little spooked by the idea that we actually talk to each other. What else did he tell you about? You know, that's going to do. Now, how do you do this with sites? So I want to show you that Google Sites is Google's form of wiki. Now, you guys know what a wiki is, perhaps. How many of you know what a wiki is? Right? How many of you, like, I've heard the term, and I just always chuckle because it's a funny word. All right? Now, There's lots of different wikis, right? Matter of fact, in the hall out here, one of the tables is Wikispaces, not a Google company, right? But a really edu-friendly company. They're a great crowd. I would encourage you to go talk to them because they're wonderfully cool people. Google Sites is another really cool way to come up with a web page very quickly, right? So I created a little page, and creating a Google site is a little bit of work, right? This is the one I created. Our School 2012. Good news this week, all right? Now, creating one, you can, if you want to learn how to create a Google site, where would you go? YouTube. How to create a Google site or create a Google site tutorial. Boom, you will find people explaining this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, what I need is this to tell about some cool thing that happened at school. And let's say, for example, that some kids at the school created a video, and they submitted the video to, I don't know, Next Vista for Learning at nextvista.org. Right. And their video won the contest. Wow, that's great. All right, so how hard is it to get that video up on a site that everybody can see? Not that hard, all right? So here we go. To edit, I just click on Edit Page, right? If you don't see this up here, and you know it's your site, you might need to click on a little thing down at the bottom that says Sign In, all right? So I click Edit Page, up it pops, and it says, boom, right here. And I say, our students won a video contest at nextvista.org. Yay! And if you want to, by the way, let's make that a little bigger so it's easy for y'all to see. There we go. 18 more. There we go. Now, nextvista.org, I want that to be a link to the site. Is that hard to do? Not really. I highlight it. I click link. It's done. Why did it do it automatically? Because it's already in the form of a link, nextvista.org. If it had said Next Vista for Learning, it would have said, what address do you want to go to? You put in nextvista.org, click, and you're there. All right? Now you're like, okay, well, Mr. Energetic dude up there, that's easy enough for text and a link, but how do you get that video in now? But that's hard. No, that's all right. Right? So let's say you've got a video. Boom, here it is, the atomic model, right? And this video is just so phenomenally cool that I have to take a moment and show you the video. I just love this video. All right.
Everything, this pencil, this ball, even you, are made of atoms. Atoms are the building blocks of all matter. All atoms have a nucleus. It is the center of the atom. Inside the nucleus, there are usually two types of particles. One type of particle is called a proton. It carries a positive electrical charge. The other kind of particle has a nucleus is called a neutron. Neutrons are neutral, meaning they don't have either positive or negative charge. Outside of the nucleus, we find the third type of particle, the electron. Electrons have a negative electrical charge, and they move around inside the nucleus when electron fire. There are at least 90 types of atoms. The number of protons, neutrons, and electrons an atom has determines whether the matter is an apple, a ball, or a U.
Like that? I believe they actually included a picture of themselves at the end as well. Here we go. And there we go. So this video was a finalist in one of our competitions. And what we did with those finalists was I took them to a contest, or a conference I was speaking at, and showed the finalists, and the audience had clickers, and they chose the winner, right? And they chose this one. This one won. Now, it barely beat out a very clever piece on prepositions from a school in Los Angeles, just saying. All right, but what the audience knew about the video before they voted, they did see it, right? But what they knew about it was that it was from a school in Webster Groves, Missouri. That's all they knew. What they didn't know about the video and this school was that the Miriam School of Webster Groves, Missouri is a school for special needs kids. When those kids found out that their video was a finalist, they were so excited. When they found out they won, oh my. Oh my. It's why we get into the profession. Those moments are gold. They're gold, right? And it's like those kids were able to say, despite the labels that we're given, we can teach too. We have something to give too. That kind of thing, if that's what you're talking about, you're probably not talking about the whining and moaning and complaining that often happens on the staff. Sorry, I put it that way, but it's true, right? But when cool stuff happens, and like our kids won this contest, this international contest, with this totally cool video. Wow. Is it hard to stick it in a site? No. So, share. Remember, share regularly. Click on share, boom! There's like an address right there. Copy it. I did a Control-C, then you can do there, and copy, right? Match people, Command-C. And then you go back to your site, and I say insert video, YouTube, because it's coming from YouTube. Paste the URL, paste, include a border, include a title. YouTube video, that's a terrible title, all right? The atomic model. YouTube video. That's a book report. What's your title of your book report? Book report. Great. Right? Save. Wait. There it is. And you're like, that doesn't look like a video. Well, I click save, and there it is, right there. How easy is it to share? Yeah, but it's making a video. Videos are easy to make. It's a different session, but still, right? So you're like, I'd love to make a video, but we don't have the money to buy software to edit videos. Well, here comes a total ninja tip. Ninja. It's a ninja time, right, for us here. I'm in YouTube, I'm signed in. I click on my little handle at the top. I go to Video Manager. Are you with me? I clicked on my name with the Video Manager. Here comes my Video Manager, which allows me to deal with anything I've uploaded. Look up here, Video Manager, Video Editor. I click there. There you go. You can upload video and edit it in YouTube. How nutty cool is that? How many of you like, totally nutty cool, dude? That's awesome. Right? How many of you like, that's cool, but I've never talked that way? This stuff is easy, right? It's easy. It's easy to do. There's a lot of different ways to get the word out. But we have to get the word out because what we talk about, if we're going to deal with people being like, or being on the staff, they have to have cool things to talk about. And cool things are happening all the time. And we don't know about it because we think we're bragging if we're talking about good stuff. All right? No. Encourage a culture at your school where you're talking about the cool things that happen. Hey, what good thing happened in your class in the last week? What good thing happened? Great, great. It's 30 seconds, 60 seconds is all it takes. Last piece of advice. Quite a similar one, I think. Celebrate your school. Well, it seems obvious enough, but often we don't take the time to do exactly this. And there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of ways to make this happen. Matter of fact, all the stuff that I just showed you about making a video and embedding it, somewhere where people can see it, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to do. Right? YouTube, yay! All right, now check this out. I'm going to show you a video. This is actually something I downloaded from YouTube, right? But I'm going to show you a video that a school made. You may have seen, I hope you've seen this video. This video is so cool that I hope you've seen it and you're sitting there going, oh, right, we're going to watch it again, right? This video is that cool. Background on the video. It was made by some kids at a school called Shorewood High School in a town in Washington, right? And their rival is Shorecrest. Well, the Shorecrest kids made a video, a lip dub. Somebody like, what's a lip dub? A lip dub is like lip syncing, but lots of people are involved, all right? A few more technical issues than that, but nevertheless, all right? So the Shorecrest kids made a lip dub, but made a critical error. At the end, they challenged Shorewood to go on better. All right, so here is Shorewood's video. And we don't give them the avenue to do it. What are we thinking? By the way, this was done by Mr. Ballou's Video Production 1 class. What are their seniors doing, right? And some of you might be like, well, I don't know. They use the song and it's copyrighted. They actually have permission. Now, they got it after the fact because this video is in like 2 million views and they were on Rachel Ray and they brought in Hall & Oates. They were like, yeah, we love this, you know. So there you go. All right? But yeah. There's just lots of cool things that we can share. What we have to do is celebrate the cool stuff, encourage each other by finding ways to get the kids to show what they can do, because you know there are people that are like, oh, the kids today, They just don't have the spirit that we had back in the day. Our bovine excrement. The kids can do all kinds of wonderful stuff. We just have to give them the avenue to do it. So, I have gone kind of on and on and on about ways that I think we can get our teachers to get excited about possibilities. Technology is not about another thing to learn. Technology is about a way of doing things that allow us to find new possibilities for telling our stories, of sharing with them the magic that we've seen. None of us became a teacher because of June, July, and August. That ain't bad. I want to keep it. But still, right? We became teachers because there's something that we're into that we found to be so magical that we wanted to share them with kids as a vocation. I want kids to understand the puzzles of mathematics, or the mysteries of science, or the beauty of poetry, or the stories of history, whatever it may be, right? That's why we become teachers, to share that kind of stuff. And we have to keep doing that. And there's so many cool ways to do it using the technologies that are now available, right? What we want to do is we want to get teachers reconnected with the passions that brought them to the classroom in the first place. That's what we want. The staff morale issue, you'll find not so big a deal when we're focused on that as a set of possibilities. So, because I have very few minutes left, I will invite you to come up and ask any questions you have. I'm happy to address them. All right? Here's how to get in touch with me, and you are welcome to do so. Right? I answer every email I get eventually. So, if you will write me at this address, or you can contact me via Twitter. You can also sign up for the newsletter. I send out stuff once a month about new videos that have been added to our site, cool free tools that I've run across, something I think is inspiring one way or another. A lot of cool videos that I'm introduced to, right? And you know, just send them out. If you ever kind of like, good heavens, that guy writes like he talks. That's frightening. Well, I do, so be careful. But you can always click unsubscribe. It's not that big a deal, right? This is that set of freebies that I've got right here. Right? And here's my little non-profit website, attempt to save the world from ignorance, one creative video at a time. All right, so I'll finish by saying this. All right. First of all, if you've got questions, let me know. I love working with schools. This is actually what runs the nonprofit. I visit schools, I visit districts, I talk about this stuff. I try to get people excited about possibilities they didn't know about. Happy to work with you on that kind of thing as well. Right? You'll also find, by the way, on the freebie site, I didn't mention this in the last session. You guys get to hear it. Right, if you go to my freebie site, look at this highlighted thing right here. California K-12 voucher program. Check your district's balance statements. There are districts in this state that have millions of dollars in the antitrust settlement balances that they don't know about. They just go and they can buy software and get it completely reimbursed. Thank you. This is very good. They can hire people to come in and do professional development as long as they're on the approved staff list. Next Vista is and get that reimbursed. So check that link. I finish every newsletter the same way, and I'll finish this session like I did the last session with this particular line. May you inspire and be inspired daily. Thank you very much for coming to the session.
There was a lot of good conversation on the today's meet. Can you show the transcript button for people so they can see that?
Those of you who are enjoying the transcript or the chat, feel free to notice that there is a transcript button right here so that you can get that if you want to review. You are welcome to do so. It's a great tool.
Can I get your information so that when you all post your stuff?
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go. I'll see who's doing it.
I will not hold you.
You'll have
I will
my
not hold
age.
you to anything.
S. Dot.
Sorry.
What's Google Plus your name? Do you have to sign up, or is it just your thing?
Yeah, I can look you up by name.
Probably Mike's signing now. I have to go. I don't know how Google Plus works. I have to go to my thing.
We're not somebody else.
Yeah, we've got $0 in there.
All right. Yeah. That's good.
That's Scott. I'll just send you an email. Do you know yours? Oh, my school got one. Substitute teacher. Rusty. Okay, awesome. Go Vintage.
Yeah, mine's easy. It's Shannon dot STEFFES at teachforamerica.com.
Nice.
And then my Google Plus is just Shannon Step.
Yeah, right.
You'll see mine. And it's the nice part about having a name no one else has. It's my Twitter. It's my everything. So I'm easy to find.
The screencast from where are we at? GA Summit? Google Summit. There we go.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hopefully it'll work out. Let's see. Oh, shoot, I was recording the whole time.